Hey, good morning, folks. Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa from farmerweather.com, also chief meteorologist of MLive in Michigan, meteorologist of 35 years, and own a home in the Rotonda West area. So here's an update for us. Again, remember, official forecasts are what we go by, official orders, and I'm just giving you some commentary and some additional info. I have a lot lined up for you, so let's get on into it. There it is, Milton. You can clearly see the eye now. It is over warm water, and I looked at the ocean temperatures, and it'll be over warm water for a while, then a touch cooler water, and then it's warmer water as it heads toward Florida. But there are also some things that are showing that it will be in a weakening phase as it hits the coast, but not totally weakened. Still expected to be a major hurricane probably as it hits the coast. All right, so this is our latest advisory and latest track at, well, I better hit refresh because they send a lot of, no, it's still the latest advisory. Okay, so there's your National Hurricane Center track forecast. Right there. How has it changed overnight? Inched just slightly northward, and we like that in the Rotonda West, Englewood, Venice area. Venice, you're going to be more into the storm than Rotonda West. So there's your right now track estimated to come on shore at Sarasota. Remember, at this period out, it's still a 100-mile average error. So that still can shift. All right, a little bit on the discussion here. Let's see, so you can read it. Now, what did I find in here? Okay, so one of the questions right now is the timing. Certainly the exact location of the center of the storm making landfall is a question. The timing is a question. What they say is that the track guidance is in good agreement that the hurricane will cross the Florida Peninsula, obviously, but there remain significant differences in both the location and the timing of the landfall. The UK Met, that's the United Kingdom model, is fastest and farthest to the east. It's a pretty good model. The GFS is slower and much farther north. It's quite a good model, and the Canadian being the slowest, keeping the storm offshore more than 24 hours longer than the other models. Throw out the Canadian probably. The new forecast track calls for the center to reach Florida West Coast between 60 and 72 hours in best agreement with the European model. That's the ECMWF you see there, and the multi-model consensus. So I'm going to show you all of those here in just a moment. It should be noted that the average NHC, National Hurricane Center track error at day 3 is around 100 miles. So it could still vary a lot. Now, one thing that we're good at is the speed. The average error at 72 hours out for the speed of the wind speed forecast is about 20 miles an hour. And of course that makes a big difference when you go from 80 to 100 or 100 to 120, but it says that it's kind of the same character of a hurricane. For the first 36 hours or so, Milton should be an environment of moderate shear over warm surface temperatures, thus steady to rapid intensification is expected, and the intensity forecast continues to call for the cyclone to become a Category 4 hurricane. After 36 hours, Milton is expected to encounter a much less favorable environment with strong shear and dry air entrainment. Therefore, some weakening is anticipated before the hurricane reaches the Florida Gulf Coast. However, the system is still likely to be a large and powerful hurricane at landfall in Florida with life-threatening surge possible. Okay, so now European model. This is the latest we have on it. And what I'm showing you here is the wind speed basically at the surface. This isn't a wind gust, but it gives you an idea of where the eye, where the European says the eye will come together. So here it is. It says that it comes on shore at about Bradenton, Sarasota. Okay, it shows a fairly small storm system. So that's the European. That's the one that they're using as a general guide for the track. Here is the U.S. model called the GFS. It has been very good. It has actually beaten the European, I would say, in the last couple of hurricanes. It is farther north. Okay, this is a wind gust forecast here, so something like this would have hurricane force wind gusts down to Venice, and if we keep our fingers crossed in the Rotonda West area, we may be in that gradient where it tapers down from above hurricane to below hurricane strength wind gusts. I feel like we'll have easily 60 to 70 mile an hour gusts. We may have 70 to 80 mile an hour gusts in Rotonda West based on the current stuff. If it shifts south, then we go to the 80 to 100 or possibly more. Bear in mind, in Ian, I believe we had 125 mile an hour wind gust out of the southeast. This also gives you a good feel for the wind flow. So this is a timing thing too. This is 2 p.m. Wednesday. This is 8 p.m. Wednesday. So we're talking about Wednesday evening or after midnight. I'm going to say somewhere our strongest winds right now look to be 6 p.m. Wednesday to 3 a.m. Thursday, somewhere in there. So it's a south to a southwest wind at 8 p.m. to a west wind eventually at 2 a.m. So there's your GFS. Now here are two just specific hurricane models. These are the newest models from what I understand from NOAA that do just the hurricane forecasting. So, and they have been proven to be pretty good. They've been proven to be a couple of miles better on the position than the European and the GFS. And you'll notice it's a sector. It kind of travels with the storm because that's all they are concerned about. So this is called the HAFS version A, and there you can see it brings the eye on about Clearwater. And for Rotonda West, Englewood, it gives us maximum gusts of about 60 to 70 miles an hour out of the west. Okay. Again, let's see, its timing is 8 p.m. Wednesday. So we're targeting that Wednesday evening period now. Now we're going to look at version B. I got to look into what the difference is, but they do show a little bit of a difference. Version B of the same model, about the same. Venice, you're looking at probably some 80 mile an hour gusts or higher, and then tapering, if this were to be the case, tapering in the Rotonda West area to 60 to 70 out of the west southwest. And again, any shift, then we go higher in Rotonda West. A shift north by 5 or 10 miles, we probably go a little bit lower in Rotonda West. So the wind at the moment is trees down, unrepaired roofs damaged, not the 125 that we had with Ian. This is a comparison for you. This is the European model wind gust. And I just it's a little bit closer for you, and I have it's the same model, but three of the latest 3 runs. Okay, so what this is saying is that 2 runs ago, about 24 hours ago, it had peak wind gusts around 75 to 80 miles an hour. 12 hours ago, You'll note that the wind gusts came up. Again, note the gradient of strongest gusts, Sarasota, Bradenton, tapering a touch to Venice, still 80 to 100, tapering more to Rotonda West. And then the latest is a little bit bigger yet, about the same kind of area, a little bit bigger area, and the pinks, by the way, are maximum gusts around 115 miles an hour. So this is going to do definitely some damage on the south side of the eye from Tampa southward through our region. All right, what else? Okay, so here's the European, same model, same time period, and it just says this is the maximum gust at any one time. And it gives you a good idea. You know, it's not based on a certain time, it's just saying this is what will be the top end. And again in knots, so you got to up it, you know, at this kind of wind speed up at about 10 miles an hour is just a good, easy way to do it. Again, you see the gradient from Tampa, Sarasota, 100 mile an hour gusts to Venice, 80 to 100, to Rotonda West, 60 to 80. This also says that if you're heading somewhere in evacuation when they order it, and they will likely, go south and east is probably your best bet. Oh, and by the way, this is meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. I have a home in the Rotonda West area, so my wife and I are obviously watching it very closely. I'm a meteorologist since 1989, Northern Illinois University, Bachelor of Science in Meteorology, professional meteorologist day in and day out for the last 35 years, and not a storm surge expert, not necessarily a tropical hurricane expert, but expert at conveying to you, I do believe, what you need to know, and the little behind the scenes type things that you don't hear about through the government forecast. And I'm not a surge expert, and I am definitely concerned with surge. Okay, now here we get all of the models, and this is a good thing to look at here. So let me back it out. So I have here turned on all of the models that are pretty decent. You see there's still a big spread because it's still 72 hours out. What you see on those numbers is the time period out, 72 hours. So again, we're looking at Wednesday evening, so timing is different, the spread is different, but I want to pick out a few things for you. Let's see here. I'll highlight a few things. This one right here, if you see it toggle on and off, that is a consensus of all the best models, and that has had the lowest average error at 72 hours out, still 110 miles average error, okay? So let me just zoom in and toggle that one, and it will be, very close to what the official hurricane forecast is. But there you can see it. So the consensus of the best models takes the center through Sarasota and into the center part of the state. In that case, again, this is for my friends, neighbors in Rotonda West, Englewood, and somewhat Venice. In that case, we would be on the edge of hurricane force winds in Rotonda West. The farther south you live in Rotonda West, probably the less of a gust you would have than if you live in northern Rotonda West and Englewood, and then certainly in Venice. Shift northward, somewhat weakening, could help us. But here's the concern. Southwest winds at near high tide. High tide looks like it's about 3 to 6 in the morning on Thursday morning. So the tide is coming up as the surge is coming up. So right now, let's see here. Right now, they have a surge of 5 to 10 feet. In our area. Heed the warnings. I don't know what that will do. I'm going to try to figure that out. The thing is, we don't have a lot of data points in our region, because remember, when I moved in, everybody said, ew, hurricanes always go around us. Don't have to. So we haven't dealt with a lot of different wind direction, different storms and whatnot. Now this last one, Helene, I would say this would probably be a very similar storm surge. That was a bigger storm, so it had a bigger storm surge, but it was farther away. It was a stronger storm, so the wind direction very similar, though. Okay, so that's the official forecast right there, okay? 5 to 10. All right, now here I found the tide forecast, and remember, we're targeting a time period right about Wednesday evening. That's October 9th. You can see the tide is going up, and it peaks about 1.66 feet above, you know, the low tide, I guess you'd call it. And so that's Lemon Bay. That's Lemon Bay. Okay, so unfortunately we're going to get surge and a rising tide at the same time. Now, a couple of things. So again, I want to emphasize, this is specific for Rotonda West, Englewood, Placida, Cape Hayes, and I have some friends in Venice. So, for us, the wind gradient may be coming down. Still gusts that will knock out power, will do some damage. At the current consensus model and an eye coming on at Sarasota. A couple of things I like. One thing I like, shear. Hurricanes do not like wind shear. So imagine a storm spinning counterclockwise. I'm doing the counterclockwise. But also remember, okay, so here's a storm spinning counterclockwise, but also remember, we now have a west wind aloft. 60, 70 miles an hour coming this way. So how does a storm turn this way with wind going that way? It thwarts it. And I want to leave you with a couple of other things here. So I'm going to show you actually the shear, you know, and these are things that will make you feel better, I believe, that it's not going to continue to be intensifying as it heads our way. I'm not saying it's not a bad hurricane. It certainly is. But there are things that can weaken it. And you know what works here? Maybe if all of us pray. So no, this is the wind flow up at around 30,000 feet in the atmosphere. And where you see the blues and the greens, that's 60, 70, 80 mile an hour winds aloft, going the opposite direction of the hurricane, basically, is how we could explain it. So this is Tuesday, and you can actually see the hurricane aloft in the screen. This is the GFS. And note that as we get to Wednesday morning, it starts to encounter the upper air winds. This won't be good enough to make it just go and gone by, but it probably will be enough to allow it to weaken some from you know, maybe a category 4 down to a 3, or if we luck out, maybe a 2, something like that. So that's what I have for you here. Let me give you a recap. Again, Rotonda West, Englewood, Venice. okay? Because we don't get that. You don't get that on TV generally. Heed the warnings of the officials. Be concerned with the storm surge. Here would be my basic math. They're saying storm surge of 5 to 10 feet, okay? I don't have a real good feel for what Helene produced, but I think it was about a 5-foot surge, so you know what it did to you there. My flood elevation certificate says 11.5 feet is the level of my main floor. So, you know, if you took the 10, that would say that your yard would be filled and you'd be 1.5 feet above water. That's awfully close. I don't know if it will do that specifically or not. The 10 might be right at the shore, which would be devastating, which would be 5 feet more than what we just had in the Englewood, Minnesota Key area. So storm surge we worry about. Winds, we're probably going to get through it based on the fact that Ian had 125 mile an hour gust, and a lot of us have hardened our homes up more since Ian with the repairs. Hopefully you have. So I'm going to say in Rotonda West, we're going to have easily 60 mile an hour gusts, 4 or 5 gusts in the matter of 2 or 3 hours, probably late Wednesday evening, maybe toward midnight, maybe a little after midnight, out of the south to southwest to west. And Englewood, you're probably 70 to maybe 90 if it shifts a little south. Venice, you're probably 80 to maybe 100 if it shifts south and is what we would call a overachiever. It's not really a good word. So there it is. You got the time frame. Wednesday evening, Wednesday overnight, all fast mover. So all done probably within about 6 hours time period of when it gets bad to when it's over, probably a 6-hour time period. And heed the warnings. I'll keep you updated. We'll keep watching those models. We'll keep praying that they inch northward. Of course, we don't hope for ill will on anybody else. We don't really have any control. If it shifts north, we'll go like this once again in Rotonda West. So I'm meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. I own a company called farmerweather.com. I own a company called Michigan Meteorological Services, and I'm the chief meteorologist for MLive, which is the 7th most trafficked local news site in the country. Take care.